Hello and welcome to... That was Panic in the World. Yeah, that goes back a bit. As when I was at school. I hadn't thought about that song since I was at school. And I thought, UFO show, what's a good song to lead in, you know, with all the shit that's going down with UFO stuff? And I thought, yeah, Panic in the World. Well, at least theoretically, there should be panic in the world, but there isn't, because everyone's more interested in Jeffrey Epstein's client list, than they are about UFOs. They're more interested in the interest rate than they are in UFOs. They're more interested in what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine than they are at UFOs. They're actually more interested in their carrots growing in the back of their yard than they are about UFOs, like most people here. Like, okay, UFO people, we're all going nuts about the whole thing because, you know, we think it's very groovy. But for a lot of other people, there's just a total underwhelmment of this whole thing. Like, you just look at social media. Like, the stuff that I'm pulling off here and playing, like, for instance, about this interview with David Grush and, you know, this interview with the bloody Senator Bushell or whatever, like, should be earth-breaking stuff. And it's, like, got 1,600 views. 1,600, like... You know, there's about 8 billion people on the planet, and probably at least half of them, or thereabouts, have got the internet, or, I don't know, maybe a third of them, like still 3 million people. It's still a lot. And you got 1,600, that's 1,600 views. Like, yeah, the aliens are here, and they've landed. And, you know, they're either going to hump us or eat us. We don't quite know yet, but we should know soon. So that's not big news. Go on. Who would have thought? Anyway, it's big news for me, and it's big news for you because you're listening to this, and this is UFO stuff. So obviously you think this is pretty big news. It reminds me of, like, I'm a Penrith supporter, and you know, Penrith will win the grand final this year like they have the last 2 years. And I will get very excited about it. My cousin won't, because he's a South Sydney supporter. So that's the way it sort of feels. Like, all the UFO people are going, yay, Penrith, woohoo, 3 times in a year. And all the South Sydney supporters are not very, you know, it's like, so what? You know, if it was us winning, then if it was Epstein's client list coming out, then would be, if the interest rates had come down, then, or, you know, blah, 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 then, you know, Putin would take his pants off, then. But no, UFOs, yeah, not really. So, anyway... But anyway, panic in the world. I'm doing my best to create panic, but unfortunately, I've chosen the wrong topic to create panic in the world, it appears, because no one gives a fuck. Anyway, but I give a fuck, and you give a fuck, so that's all that matters. So what I've done here is I'm bringing up a bunch of stuff. Now, I'm going to do this. There's a couple of things. I'm doing this slightly different to how I've done it before, and hopefully this will be more fluid and better, and I don't copy, listening to myself back, critiquing myself. I found that, embarrassingly, I've played quite a bit of stuff more than once, and you poor people are probably going, oh my God, you know, is that guy on drugs? What's the matter with him? Anyway, so I'm trying to reduce that and trying to get more, also just using YouTube for the best of my ability. So, for instance, I'm looking at the filters here. So what I'm doing is I want information today, I want videos, and I want up to 4 minutes, because then they have to get to the fucking point pretty quickly, because they've only got 4 minutes to do it. And that's, you know, that's what we want. We want something that gets to the point. Get to the point, son. Great. Wonderful. Piss off. Next person. So this is what all these things are. So I'm going to... And again, I tuned all this up, got all this worked out, actually did some pre-work for the show, and thought, no, I'm not going. I thought, well, I could save all this to my UFO presentation video library thingy, but I thought, no. I do. I'm not kidding. I do like the spontaneity of both of us, like playing something and going, oh wow, he said that, and me getting surprised, because then it's real. You know, and you can't fake realness, you know, so I'd rather, yeah, okay, sometimes it might be a bit goofy because I've played something twice or whatever, but the fact that I don't know what's going to happen is part of the joy for me, and I would imagine, I hope, part of the joy for you, that, you know, we're both experiencing this at the same time, rather than me, you know, talking to you like some teacher in science school or something. Anyway, is the US in possession of UFOs and aliens? Now, this says it's live. No, I don't know. It hasn't got a... Is this really live? I don't know. Let's have a listen and see what it says.
IR plume coming out. and white TV and the IR modes, and there's no visible signs of propulsion. It's just sitting in space at 20,000 feet.
In your career, have you ever seen a propulsion system that creates no thermal exhaust?
No.
Can you describe how the aircraft maneuvered?
Abruptly, very determinate. It knew exactly what it was doing. It was aware of our presence, and it had acceleration rates. I mean, it went from 0 to matching our speed in no time at all.
Now, if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do these maneuvers that you saw, would it be capable of doing that?
No, not even close.
And just to confirm, this object had no wings, correct?
No wings.
Now, was the aircraft that you were flying, was it armed?
No, it never felt threatened at all.
If the aircraft was armed, do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no. Just on the performance, it would have just left in a split second.
It looks like that we have a problem here that needs further investigation.
Yes.
In your belief, is this flying Tic Tac? I mean, is it capable of being the product of any other nation on the Earth?
No, like I said earlier, I think it defies current material science and the ability to develop that much propulsion. And I know there's been some physicists that have done calculations, which is beyond anything that we have.
Well, either the United States has an adversary here in this world that we don't know, or we really have some serious investigations to do. I really appreciate you being here.
This is really amazing. This is
there anything else?
I think you hear that in the background. This is actually live. And there is some really, like, I'm just going to let this run for a while, because this just says UFO hearing live. American government is hiding alien vehicles, and this is David Fravor talking now, Commander Fravor. So we'll just listen. This is live, and this is serious stuff. Talk about panic in the world. This is wonderful.
I mean, there's 4 sets of human eyeballs. We're all very credible. Of the 6 of us that were involved in the thing, including the video, every one of us is going to do 20 plus years in the military in very responsible positions. So I'd say the world needs to know that. It's not a joke.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony here today, for all of you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ogles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here and the courage it took to come forward and again, the sacrifice that each of you have made. I serve on the National Security Subcommittee for the Financial Services Committee, so I really want to stay in the national security lane, if I may. So when we think about traditional adversaries and both us towards them and them towards us, we probe their capabilities. We look for weaknesses, and we collect that data, that reconnaissance in the event we need it in the future. For each of you, yes or no question, based off of your own experience or the data that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs could be essentially collecting reconnaissance information? Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Grush?
Fair assessment. Yeah.
Mr. Fravor?
Very possible.
Again, in the national security vein, is it possible that these UAPs would be probing our capabilities? Yes or no, Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Grush?
Yes.
Fravor?
Definitely.
Is it possible that these UAPs are testing for vulnerabilities in our current systems?
Yes.
Yes. Possible.
Do you feel, based off of your experience and the information that you've been privy to, that these UAPs provide an existential threat to the national security of the United States? Mr. Graves?
Potentially.
Yes, sir, potentially.
Same answer, potentially. Yeah, I'd say
Fravor?
Definitely, potentially.
Mr. Graves and Fravor, in the event that your encounters have become hostile, would you have had the capability to defend yourself, your crew, your aircraft?
Absolutely not.
Sir?
No.
Is based off of the information that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities?
Yes.
By external observation, sure, that could be a fair assessment, yeah. Yes.
Is there any indication that the Department of Energy is involved in UAP data collection and housing?
I don't have an answer.
I can't confirm or deny that in a public setting.
And
No.
could you do it in a secure setting?
Yes.
Mr. Fravor?
No, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm the last member to go, but there clearly is a threat to the national security of the United States of America. As members of Congress, we have a responsibility to maintain oversight and be aware of these activities so that, if appropriate, we take action. I would encourage the chairman to demand that we have any and all, but in particular Mr. Grush, talk to us in a skiff. And if that access is denied, I will personally volunteer to initiate the Holman Rule against any personnel or any program or any agency that denies access to Congress. Mr. Chairman, with that, I will yield the remainder of my time to my fellow colleague from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett.
Bloody wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ogles, for the great questions, brother. Mr. Grush, I might have asked this before, but I want to make sure. Do you have any personal knowledge of someone who's possibly been injured working on legacy UAP reverse engineering?
Yes.
Okay. How were they injured? Is it something like a radioactive type situation or something we didn't understand? I've heard people talk about Havana syndrome type incidences. What was your recollection of that?
I can't get into specifics, but you could imagine assessing an unknown unknown. There's a lot of potentialities you can't fully prepare for.
How do you think we ought to handle UAP whistleblower complaints like yours in the future?
Yeah, there was some issue with mine. So, PPD-19 process, it goes to the Intel committees, either through PPD-19 or ICD-120. There's not a good way for the Intelligence Community Inspector General to provide that to other committees. And I asked my information to be sent to the House and Senate Armed Services Committee because there are Title X equities at play, but there was no smooth process to do so. Yeah.
It's a trash can. Are you aware of any individuals that are participating in reverse engineering programs for non-terrestrial craft?
Personally, yes.
Do you know any that would be willing to testify if there were protections for them?
Certainly closed door and assurances that breaking their NDA, they're not going to get administratively punished for so. Yeah.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary here. We're going to give 3 people a chance at an additional 3 minutes. So, Mr. Burchett, do you want to keep going?
Why don't you come back to me, Mr. Chairman? Ms. Luna, is she on that list?
I'm on the spot.
Sure.
Chairman, I'd like to submit for the record an article by News Nation, and it follows Mr. Grush's full interview for the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Grush, why is it that you refer to the phenomenon as non-human intelligence? Why deviate from the basis of extraterrestrial life?
I think the phenomenon is very complex, and I like to leave an open mind analytically to specific origin.
When you say specific origin, are you can you elaborate on that for those that might not?
If it's a traditional extraterrestrial origin or something else that we don't quite understand from either a biological or astrophysics perspective, I just like to keep an open mind on what it could be.
Okay, and referring to your News Nation interview, you had referenced specific treaties between governments. Article 3 of the Nuclear Arms Treaty with Russia identifies UAPs. It specifically mentions them. To your knowledge, are there safety measures in place with foreign governments or other superpowers to avoid an escalatory situation in the event that a UAP malevolent event occurs?
You're referring to actual public treaty in the UN Register. It's funny you mentioned that. The Agreement on Measures to Reduce the Risk of Outbreak of Nuclear War signed in 1971. Unclassified treaty publicly available. And if you cite the George Washington University National Security Archives, you will find the declassified in 2013 specific provisions in the specific red line flash message traffic with the specific codes pursuant to Article 3 and Article, also Situation 2, which is in the previously classified NSA archive. What I would recommend, and I tried to get access, but
I got a wall of silence at the White House was those specific incidents when those message traffic was used. I think some scholarship on that would open the door to a further investigation using those publicly available information.
Thank you. And then my last
just
question
gonna
with
stop for
51
1
seconds
second.
remaining. You
You know how
mentioned
I was
white
saying
collar
at the beginning, I
crimes
thought,
potentially
this is
being
mind-boggling
taking place
shit. I want to get back
in
to it really
regards
quick,
to
but
a
I've got
cover.
to
Can
let
you
you
please
know.
elaborate?
Do you know
I
how
have
many people are
concerns
watching
based
this
on the interviews I
mind-boggling
conducted
fucking
under my
shit?
official duties
78
of
I'm not kidding.
potential
You
violations
can
of the
Google
federal
this up.
acquisition
And look at
regulations,
it.
the FAR.
And it says watching now. 78.
Thank you very much.
There are
Chairman, I yield the
78
remainder of my
people
time.
out of 8 billion that are interested in this.
Okay, we'll go to
and
Mr.
we're
Raskin
probably
for
half
3
of them.
minutes.
It's
Thank you,
true.
Mr. Chair.
Amazing.
I thank the witnesses for their endurance and service today. Mr. Fravor, you've described your episode in detail now, and you call it the most credible UFO sighting in history. But I wonder, was this the first time that you encountered a UFO or a UAP in 2004?
Yes.
And what was your general attitude or perspective on the UFO discussion before that happened?
I never felt that we were alone with all the planets out there, but I wasn't a UFO person. I wasn't watching History Channel and MUFON and all that.
And have you had experiences or encounters since that happened?
No.
And so have you formed any general conclusions about what you think you experienced then?
Yes, I think what we experienced was, like I said, well beyond the material science and the capabilities that we had at the time, that we have currently, or that we're going to have in the next 10 to 20 years.
Very good. Mr. Grush, you've been able to answer in great detail on certain questions, and then other things you say you're not able to respond to. Can you just explain where you're drawing the line and what's the basis for that?
Yeah, based on my DOPSR security review and what they've determined that is unclassified.
I see. So you're answering any questions that just call upon your knowledge of unclassified questions, but anything that relates to classified matters you're not commenting on in this context.
In an open session, but happy to participate in a closed session at the right level, yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Graves, you've said that there are dozens of fellow pilots, military pilots. Are there also commercial pilots who've encountered the same kind of sightings that you described before?
They are similar. Commercial pilots have less range and less sensors to be able to reach out and look for objects over wide swaths of airspace. And so pilots are seeing them, commercial pilots are seeing them, and they're typically closer, and the range of what they're seeing is pretty large.
Well, what is the most vivid, concrete sighting with the naked eye of the objects that you described before, the cube-like objects?
Certainly. I think the most vivid sighting of that would have been near midair that we had at the entrance to our working area. One of these objects was completely stationary at the exact entrance to our working areas, not only geographically, but also at altitude. So it was right where all the jets are going, essentially, on the eastern seaboard. The two aircraft flew within about 50 feet of the object, and that was a very close visual sighting.
And you were in one of the aircraft?
I was not. I was there when the pilot landed. He canceled the mission after, and I was there. He was in the ready room with all his gear on, with his mouth open, and I asked him what the problem was, and he said he almost hit one of those darn things.
He said he was 50 feet away from it?
Yes, sir.
And his description of the object was consistent with the description you gave us before?
A dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere.
Inside of a clear sphere?
Yes.
And with no self-evident propulsion system?
No wings, no IR energy coming off of the vehicle, nothing tethering it to the ground. And that was primarily what we were experiencing out there.
I'm over time. Thank you very much for your service, and I yield back to Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Mr. Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for all three of y'all, starting with Mr. Graves. Why did you come forward on this issue?
I came forward because I felt that my colleagues did not have a way to mitigate this safety threat, and I wanted to help them. I was trained as an aviation safety officer by the Navy, and it just felt right. I felt like I had to help the folks that were still flying and dealing with this.
Mr. Grush?
purely a sense of duty. I first swore an oath when I was a cadet 18 years ago, and I still uphold that even out of the uniform.
Commander?
I was pestered by a friend, and I asked why, and he said, "You're the one person that they can't discredit, and you'll add credibility to the New York Times article." And so after about 6 times, I said, "Okay."
Honest.
Yeah. This town isn't made, unfortunately, by people like y'all. We thank y'all. And I do want to also thank the people in the audience and the people that are watching this that can't be, people all over the world that have kept this issue alive. You've endured criticism.
All 88 of us.
Derogatory remarks, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. And so God bless y'all. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate you guys and gals. That's why we need term limits. Y'all keep clapping, us politicians just keep talking. So let me ask y'all, how can the public contribute to UAP reporting, and what avenues you think are available to the public to report these sightings?
Well, right now, I don't think there is a lot of public options for every man to be able to report on this. I think even for professionals that have sensor data that are seeing these on a regular basis, they're still hesitant to come forward. And so for the general public, I think encouraging the conversations that we're having today, looking for technology solutions that can be distributed so that objective data can be gathered is the first place to go.
Mr. Grush?
I'll just touch on the whistleblower side of it. I do encourage, current and former military, intelligence community, and industry contractors to come forward in a legal way, either through the IC or DoD or whatever the cognizant IGs are, to join me in this discussion.
Commander, and I guess I should say this for the record. My daddy was United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Division. So,
Hoorah.
Yes, sir. He was old school, him and Chesty Puller on Peleliu. So thank you,
wow.
brother.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I'm not anything like my daddy. He was incredible. I'm very mediocre, to say the least, but go ahead.
You seem to be doing fine.
Yeah.
For me, I was an accident investigator, so the biggest thing you need to learn, and I think that witnesses need to do is, one, don't try and make the fish bigger than it was. Stick to the facts, write it down, and don't speculate what you think it is because it will sway your decision. Just write the facts down. We can get all the facts together, and we can start to investigate and get a real honest story instead of it was this big.
Thank you all, and I want to thank everybody. We made history today. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you much, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. I know now we're going to be making some closing remarks, and so I just wanted to say a few things. First, to our witnesses, I want to thank all of you for being here with us today. I know that it takes a lot of courage. You're telling really important information to this committee, and I just want to thank you also for all three of you, your service to our country. I also want to just note that today's hearing was both important but also serious, and I want to thank our subcommittee chairman, Mr. Grothman, I think for running a very fair and substantive hearing. I do want to thank the committee staff on both sides for the amount of work that it took to put this hearing in place, and certainly to all the members that have been involved in this issue prior to the hearing. I also want to note for our witnesses and for the public that I'm a freshman member of Congress, and I've only been here for 7 months, but this is by far the most bipartisan conversation and discussion that I have seen happen in the Congress. And I think that a topic of this significance as it relates to our national security, as it relates to information that we're trying to gather for the American public, does bring people together, and I think that's been really great to see. I think it's also important to note for the public, today in our hearing, we had on our side also both our full ranking member, which is Mr. Raskin, and our vice ranking member, which is Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, both here at our hearing. I think it shows the importance and seriousness that our side of the aisle is taking to this important hearing, but also to the broader issue as it relates to working with our Republican counterparts on this committee. I want to additionally add that I think it's really important that we have and continue these discussions and these hearings. Clearly, there's a lot of information that we don't know, but it's also very clear that we have to continue our investigation and accountability on asking the right questions and ensuring that they're part of the public record. One thing that was important today is some folks might wonder, why are we asking questions that might already be out there or that have been asked before? It's important that they're asked and put into the public record as it relates to this committee. And so I want to thank you for, answering some questions multiple times. I know not just in maybe meetings you had with some members, but also here in the public. Let me also just add an additional note that it's important also that our friends in the media and those that are not just reporting on this hearing, but that have reported on this topic and that may in the future, the media has an important role in this process. And it's very important that the media engages, does independent investigation, and reports on not just what happened today, but what they see independently as what is happening around UAPs in the broader community. That is also an important public benefit that we have in trying to get the information and the facts as it relates to this. Let me also just say finally that as a teacher and an educator and a longtime teacher and researcher, that I also really believe in following facts, in doing your homework, and in making sure that you follow science as we try to get as most information as possible. And so I want to thank you all for agreeing to do that today. Transparency is a cornerstone of government. We live in a vast galaxy, a lot of unanswered questions, and thank you all for being here today. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to one more time thank Mr. Burchett and Ms. Luna for bringing this to our attention. It's a topic that has interested me since I was in school. It was a very illuminating hearing. Obviously, I think several of us are going to look forward to getting some answers in a more confidential setting. I assume some legislation will come out of this. Sure.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I need to compliment the folks in my office that did a lot of the work on this. Rachel and Noah sitting behind me here. They're very quiet and humble, but without them, this thing would not have come off like it did, so I apologize.
Thank you. I think we're going to want to look into what we can do to make more of this information public. I think there's certainly a time period after which it should always be made public, and people have been concerned about these issues, like I said, since I was in high school. But in any event, I'd like to thank everybody who was here, sticking through the entire hearing. Without objection, the members will have 5 legislative days to submit materials and to submit additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses for their response. If there's no further business, without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned. Thank you. I'll try to get out of here in about 4, and then we'll give it to some of my friends over here. Good morning and welcome to the most exciting subcommittee in Congress this week, the Subcommittee on National Security of the Border and Foreign Affairs, for discussion of unidentified anomalous phenomenon. I'd like to thank the brave military pilots and personnel, such as the witnesses on the panel today.
Wow. I mean, wow. I did not expect that. Like, that is beyond any expectation I had. I don't know what the Holman rule is, but one of the guys said if they get blocked by the Pentagon again, he's going to institute the Holman clause, or whatever that is, that overrides the bloody Pentagon and says, get the fuck out of the way, we want answers. This guy just said there will be legislation coming out of this. Legislation. They're going to make it law that the Pentagon will have to tell the Congress and the Senate, and they won't be able to hide behind national security anymore. Now, they will do their best to do it. Now, this is what a lot of this, we're only getting the tip of the iceberg, boys and girls, right? They've all said the same thing, that, it was very, very well articulated by Dave Grush, that he said, when the guy said, well, what can you talk about? Well, I can tell you what is unclassified. But as for classified, I can't tell you about it. Duh! Otherwise he gets in trouble. So he's been told, basically, you can talk about anything that's unclassified, but it's classified, you're going to be in all sorts. So, and he's obeying his military oath too, because you've got to understand the CIA is sort of, is it military? It's, well, sort of, they've got to give oaths, they've got to make, things. So the military people, whether it's Graves or further, they're applying their military things, which is they've got to play by the rules, for God's sakes. Whether you're CIA or military, you've got to play by the rules. And if someone says you can talk about unclassified stuff, but you can't talk about classified stuff, that's what you got to fucking do. Otherwise, you'll end up in really big trouble. Right? And then what do we got? And then what happened to Dave Grush? Oh, he disappeared somewhere. Oh, great, we won't be able to find out the rest of the stuff. And none of the other whistleblowers are going to come back. Why would they? David Grush disappeared. Why? Because he did the wrong thing. Because he mentioned about classified stuff which the CIA had not yet approved. So David Grush can't convince the CIA to change their mind, but the fucking Senate and the Congress can. So if they put legislation in place that forces the Pentagon to come clean and cooperate with the senators and the Congress that are investigating the truth behind UAPs and its origin. Now, the other fascinating thing, and this opens the door to a whole bunch of stuff. Those of you who are long-time listeners to my show will know that if you want to get pedantic, I prefer to call them ATs, or not ETs or anything else, but ATs, because they're beings from advanced technologies. That's what I know. They're beings, and they're more advanced than we are. Their technology is more advanced than we are. Like when the guy said, stick to the facts, be scientific, I am sticking to the facts, always do. I'm always been scientific, I always stick to the facts. If I speculate, I say I'm speculating. You know, I don't say it's fact. Not like these other bastards do, like Dr. Carl. So, anyway, the guy said that in regard to this... oh, God, I lost my thread. Anyway, this is the same guy that was sort of going to bring in the legislation for it all. The guy that was interested in this when he was at school. Like who, a lot of thinking people... have been interested in this for a very long time. I mean, okay, he's probably not going to, he's a senator or something. He probably doesn't go around. This is the first time he's had a chance to say, I've always been interested in this shit, because he never would have been able to before, because, you can't run for the Senate and say you're interested in UFOs. Now you bloody can. So this is huge, absolutely huge. The live thing has stopped. They're just filling it up now, otherwise I'd to give him a plate. But the other thing, this is amazing shit upon amazing shit. Like, for me, and God, you must be feeling it too. Like, this is real. I'm not making any of this up. I am here looking at UFO hearing live. American government hiding alien vehicles. 3 witnesses tell U.S. Congress. WION live. There are 66. Well, it's obviously finished now. But there's 65 watching now. And it started screaming 15 hours ago. This fucking thing's been going for 15 hours. We only caught the arse end. It's been going for 15 hours. And at the end, when we were watching it, what was there? 85, 88 people in the whole world watching this? 88 people? Like, that's probably my fucking audience. Hello, James. Hello, Paul. Hello, whoever. Hello, kids on the school bus. That's probably half of them, or most of the people. Oh, I don't know. There's only one. Anyway, you know what I mean. There's fuck all people. That's what it means. I know I'm being silly there, but you know what I mean? Like, this information, and there's 88 people streaming it. This is the internet. This is not like security clearance for me to see this. This is any Tom, Dick and Harry can drag this up if they know it's on, or if they're doing a UFO show and accidentally find out it's on. But have a go. Oh, later, we've got comments. We've got comments here. Comments, right? Have a go. There's some things never change. You always get fucking idiots everywhere, even in the comment section. Now listen to this. This is the first comment from Quantum Reality, obviously a fucking scientist, dude. It spells in capital letters, obviously a dick straight up. Know a guy that heard a guy tell another guy there's alien spaceships hidden in military bunkers. And laughy faces. Like, what? This man is a fucking idiot of the nth degree. I can't even imagine how stupid he is. Like, he's not even listening. He is so programmed to be dismissive of information that doesn't suit his paradigm that he will say something like that, regardless of what the information that you and I have just heard from military commanders, flight commanders, wing commanders, guys that have unlimited clearance or, top clearance in the CIA, senators, doing it all seriously, and he's making a joke about it. What a dick. Anyway, someone say, Juice says incredible. Probably It's the same thing I'm thinking, what a dick. Anyway, so this is live stream. This is why this thing's going on. And this is the chat that's going on in the world at the moment. And so we've got quantum reality saying that stupid thing. We've got the other guy saying incredible, that the guy's such a fucking idiot. And then there's me that says, wow, I was the third person to make a comment on this fucking thing in the world. The third person. And I just said, wow. And then someone said, look up TV, said, it's real! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And I put, you betcha. And then Omar Wilson just put 9. I don't know what the fuck 9 means, but anyway, he just put 9. And then some guy called Pico de Gallo said, oh, he's another idiot. Jibber jabber. Jibber jabber. He calls that jibber jabber. He calls that jibber jabber. Like, people who know saying we are being visited by ETs, right? We are getting our... Did you hear the part where they're saying that the guy was asking the questions, are they checking out our military capabilities? They said very likely. All three of them said, yeah, probably. That's what they're doing. They're checking out our military capabilities. Could we defend he said, could you defend yourself? Probably not. Not the way, of course not. I mean, he says probably not, but really, I think he knows. You would not like to be sent out and go, right, shoot that thing down, Dave. He'd go, fuck off. How am I going to shoot it down? I can't even lock my radar on it before it's gone. And it goes up into space from 20,000 feet or 10,000 feet or from just above the water. Boom! And suddenly it's 80,000 feet up and doing orbit of the Earth. Go shoot it down, Dave. No worries. So isn't this amazing? This is amazing. So, I don't know, it's still what I'm saying. What I'm saying at the beginning still applies, that this is amazing, breathtaking. I've never seen the like of this before, ever in my life. This sort of acceptance at this level. And not pretend acceptance, like people talking about bringing in legislation to get to the bottom of this. Bringing in the Holman thing, whatever it is, to get to the bottom of this. These are senators. They are not going to be fucked around. They are angry and they want the answers. And everyone else, and there's more than, and this is boom. And now it's okay to bang the desk and say, I want the answers. Now it's okay. It used to be just for dickheads or people who are watching the X-Files or I don't know, whatever. But now we've got senators, we've got fair income people banging the desk and saying, fuck this, we want to find out what's going on with this thing. I've had an bucket full of this. They know, because they're intelligent people, the calibre of these three people. If it was you, me and the gatepost, I could understand why it wouldn't be making a lot of noise. And I've said this a million times and I'm tired of saying it, but the calibre of these people is exceptional. And so for someone to say, oh, knows a guy, look, are we talking about three guys in a pub? Or are we talking about wing commanders, flight commanders, and a guy who has total security at CIA? We're not talking about Fred, Joe and Michael at the pub when they're cut. So, amazing. So this is going on. Now, I don't know. I'm just thinking, do I play anything else like after that? Because everything else is a bit of a come down after that, and as I said, what is this? Is this shit going to make NBN? Is it going to make CBS? Is it going to make 9 News or Current Affair or whatever? I did see a Current Affair thing that treated the subject well. There's a guy looking after Current Affair. I don't have a TV. Well, I have a TV, but I don't watch TV. And there's a guy, Michael, somebody doing Current Affair now. I thought the chick was doing it, but anyway, she's gone apparently, or maybe she was sick or something, I don't know. But anyway, some guy, Michael, somebody, interviewing our mate, the Aussie bloke, Ross Coulthart, our UFO man. So he was interviewing him about it, and of course Ross Coulthart works for Channel 7, so he works for Channel 7. Almost to me, it can't have been Current Affair, or was it Current Affair? I don't know, I thought it was Current Affair. But Current Affairs 9, not 7. Anyway, I don't understand. But anyway, they know each other. But anyway, they took it very seriously. And there you go. Oh, here we go. Oh, Pico de Gallo, that's the man who says jibber jabber. He's come up with this piece of intelligence. If aliens were gender fluid, you'd see them on every channel. Fucking hell. Anyway, thank God there's few people like that man. Well, I don't know what there is, but anyway, let's forget about him. I'm just over it. So, anyway, that's what, for anyone intelligent, this is what's going on that is setting whole new paradigms of reality for our world. And, and some people are even, 63 are interested in that. So, yes, I don't know. Isn't that amazing? Like, as I said, amazing. There must have been, as I said, this thing's been streaming for 15 hours. My God. That's what it says. 63 watching now started streaming 15 hours ago. 15 hours. I hope these bastards get fed and get a chance to have a piss or something. Go see their wives. I don't know. Fucking hell. But anyway, it's got, so a lot of people might, well, when I say a lot of people, maybe 50 or 60, might have dropped off because, like 15 hours, you're hardcore to watch it for 15 hours. I wouldn't watch it for 15 hours. Jesus. Unless I was speeding or something, I might be able to do it. But anyway, but there must have been a few more at some point because there's 174 likes, unless the same person just sat there and kept liking 174 times. But anyway, this says 174 likes. So anyway, whatever happened. How that happened, I don't know, but that's what it says. And yes, 59 watching now because it's all packed it in. So anyway, that's just awesome. That is just awesome. Okay, I'm just, wow. Okay, I'm going to play some more music and have a pipe in me mullum and just settle on that because I'm a bit blown away by it all, really. It's just, I wasn't expecting that. This is exactly what I said at the top of the show, isn't it? That if I'd sort of had it all set, no, I know that, this wouldn't have happened. And I wouldn't be talking to you in this crazy, excited state because, I didn't know that was going to happen until it did. And you didn't know it was going to happen until it did. So we shared that moment, which I think is fucking wonderful. So anyway, we'll share a song now. And then I'll play an ad because I could do that as well. There's so much happening. There's panic in the world. But now, we're not going to do Panic in the World. We're going to do Bebop Deluxe, which again is the same group, and that's Bill Nelson, Bebop Deluxe, and you won't find it on the top 40 anywhere because this is pretty ancient stuff. This goes back to when I was at school. That was a few years ago. Dinosaurs ruined the world. Anyway, Electrical Language, Bebop Deluxe, Bill Nelson, and this is Electrical Language. Enjoy.